Hi, welcome to Simple Shifts Conversations to Fuel Your Body, Mind, and Soul. I'm Martha McKinnon from the blog Simple Nourished Living, and with me is my brother and partner, Peter Morrison.
Hello, Martha McKinnon.
Hello, Peter Morrison. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm feeling kind of brave because I'm going to share a confession in today's episode. I'm going to talk about my fear. I sort of have labeled myself through the years as a scaredy cat. And my fear actually even extended to the fear of hunger, if you can believe it or not. So I'm going to be really honest about that. But before we talk about my fear of hunger and sort of moving beyond my fear of hunger, what's going well in your world? What are you really excited
I
about?
like that little juicy start. You're creating a little
A little
drama.
teaser, right? Yeah.
Little teaser, that's the word. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Let's see what's going well. Well, I've been pretty good. A while back I mentioned where I wasn't really getting to the gym, and though I wanted to, and feel like as I get older, like balance and strength are important. But I did start doing push-ups. They are the not full-on push-ups, but from my knees. But I haven't been doing them every day, but I've been doing them. I maybe miss 1 or 2 days a week over the last few weeks, and I'm liking the challenge that it's presenting, and I'm doing more and more, and I'm up over 20 now, which probably sounds pathetic to some people, but I think it's good.
It's
And it
important
hasn't
not to
quite,
compare.
yeah. And it hasn't quite led me to the gym yet, but I feel like it is building somehow, like building me to want to do more in that direction. So I'm just happy that I'm like with this podcast, I'm happy I'm sticking with it. It's hard at times, it's uncomfortable, and some days I don't feel as strong as other days, but I'm doing it, and it feels good. So
Well, good for you.
yay.
Good. That's awesome. That's wonderful. That's to be celebrated. So I've read tons on habits, and one of the suggestions is that you celebrate when you've actually executed on one of your intentions. So have you included like celebration somehow in after you've completed your push-ups for the day?
My celebration exists of a nice stretch.
Yeah.
Like usually like child's pose or something like that, where
Uh-huh.
I'm down on the ground and it just, relax your back. And so it's not like a joyous jumping celebration. It's a
It's a
relaxed.
relief. But
Yeah.
but relief
Yeah.
relief is a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think
It is
relief
for
is a
me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good for you. That's great. And so, is it something that you're trying to do every day, or have you attached this to a particular time of day or a particular activity to help make it stick? Or
It's generally one of the last things. I don't know why. It's one of the last things before bed. It's just kind of a quiet time. The house is dark and I'm just, um, it's, yeah. So,
well,
um,
that's great. And right before bed is a great one because one of those suggestions is to make your habit so small that if you get to the end of the day, you can still get it done. I mean, and the truth is, this has happened to me sometimes with my Duolingo. I actually am in bed and I remember I
mm,
didn't do my Duolingo lesson today, and I'll get up and get on the phone and do it. So that's great. I mean, it's a great way to start building a habit and to make it so small that you can't really not accomplish it. And there's real power in that because you can start to build some momentum. So good for you.
thank you.
All right. So would you consider yourself a fearful person
In some regards, yes.
in
Have a
some
fear of
regard?
heights.
You have a fear of heights, but you bungee jumped.
This is true. But yeah, it's not logical. Um,
Okay.
like
So, okay.
like standing like Well, like where were we at the north rim of the Grand Canyon one year, and there's all these hiking trails out, and a lot of them didn't have any kind of railing or anything, and you get up to the edge, and it's like just straight down, and that is really that really freaks me out.
Hmm.
But if you're at in a skyscraper and there's a railing and there's something to hold on to, that is less bothers me less.
Okay. Yeah. And you're right. It's not
So
a lot. It's not always logical. Rod, I mean, as you say that, Rod's afraid of heights too, but he actually flew planes. I'm like,
mm,
how does that work? But again, he described it similar to the way you are. The fact that being on the edge of like the Grand Canyon, or um, when Mac got married, we stayed at a high-rise hotel in Madison, right on the water, and it had these tiny little glass, like little patios right off the
the
room, but it was
floor
all
was
glass.
glass.
Huh? The
The
floor wasn't
floor
glass,
of
but the walls
oh
were glass.
oh okay.
And he was just even very hesitant about getting out on that and looking down because it just didn't seem very sturdy. So, yeah. So that's fear. I mean, fear is a challenge for us, right?
I have a fear of snakes.
Yep.
So yeah, so I wouldn't say I'm a fearful person. Like I don't wake up afraid of nothing. I mean, there's usually something that causes the fear.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
I'd
I
say
mean,
I'm mildly fearful, cautious. I'm a
yeah, and I think
cautious
we all,
person.
right? If you're human and you're alive, I think you've had fear. I think it's built into us for survival, and I think without fear, I think it's programmed in for our survival. So it's pretty common across humanity, right? To have fear. And again, it was wired in it makes perfect sense, right? That for survival, if you're in the presence of a rattlesnake, it's best to be fearful because it can kill you. Where it gets a little crazy is when suddenly just the thought of it can make us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting. So, but I'm working on it. But I think of myself as sort of as a self-described scaredy cat. I feel like I've had a lot of fear in my life, a lot of anxiety, and
Would you say that that's self-imposed or like from an outside source?
well, my current teachings, like what I'm coming to understand, is that a lot of us believe that it comes from an outside source, but the real truth is that it comes from within. It comes from our thoughts, and
Mm-hmm.
that's been a real shift for me. In fact, I always sort of self-described as, introvert, as like I've always had a lot of social anxiety, uh, and the concept was suggested to me recently through some of the study I'm doing. This whole concept of uh, it's just a thought. You're not afraid. You just think you're afraid. It's just that, you're not anxious. You just think you're anxious. And it's really sort of been very enlightening for me because I've been able to embrace that and see it, see how your thinking about something can be that powerful. And when you change your thinking, when you change how you see it, then that suddenly I feel like a lot of the fear that I've had, a lot of the anxiety is kind of just evaporated because it's it's really some of it's unexplainable, really. So I do think it, like, from this most recent understanding, I do believe that most of all of it's coming from inside. We just don't know it because because of the way we're programmed, because of the emotions and thoughts and chemicals and biology. It happens so fast, you think it's coming from the outside, but it's really coming from the inside. So, hunger. So, way back in the day, hunger was something that was on my fear list. I was afraid of being hungry, and I don't know. I mean, I can't explain why. I mean, why but I think it's common. I think it's could be common amongst dieters. I think it could be common amongst people who really sort of obsess about food. I think it's common maybe for people who use food, to comfort and to self-soothe. I don't think for a moment that I'm alone in this sort of fear of hunger. Um, but
Do you remember having that fear in your childhood, or was it something that came about as an adult?
um, I don't really remember I don't remember I don't remember labeling it that way or having that
Mhm.
awareness like as a kid,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I did know of it as an adult when I was able to start making my own decisions, and what I found was, I found myself eating like getting nervous when it be start to be near a mealtime, like that suddenly, oh my gosh, I might I get hungry, and if I get hungry, what might happen? Or eating for prevention, like I better eat something now because I've got to go into this long meeting and I'm gonna get hungry. I don't understand what the fear of getting hungry meant. But there was this stress or this anxiety around, oh my God, if I get hungry, then what will happen?
Hmm.
Um, so again, there's not always logic, but again, so eating preventatively became sort of very common, right? Or making sure that I always like had a snack with me to make sure that I wouldn't experience hunger. Just sort of avoidance of. And I guess sometimes in the dieting world, right, there's a lot of messages that come through, like that if you get too it's dangerous to get too hungry. I mean, I think that sometimes this is where the eating every couple of hours came from. This thought that if you get hungry, if you wait too long, then suddenly you're gonna, overeat, and that's a bad. So I think it got labeled as maybe a bad thing or a dangerous thing or something to be avoided if you're trying to like really stay in control. So I can't totally wrap my brain around where all that came from, but I know that's some of, what would come up for me around it. And so this was actually so severe that I mean there was a time when I traveled for work. I mean I was doing consulting work and I traveled on planes quite regularly, and I was on a flight coming from the East Coast to the West Coast, so I was scheduled for a 5-hour flight, and I get there, and suddenly they're saying, there'll be no food, there'll be no food served on this flight, and it sent me into a panic, and so I ended up getting, finding a uh, food concession to queue up to get a sandwich or a salad. Um, uh, to take on the plane with me so that when I got hungry, I'd be prepared. I'd be prepared for that and I wouldn't suffer. And so I queued up and the line was long and I lost track of time. And when I got to the gate, I mean, the gate had shut. I mean, the door was shut and I couldn't get on the plane. So I actually had this, it sounds, I mean, and looking back on it now, I mean, because I have played with my hunger, I look back on it now and it seems like incredulous, right? That I actually, that I actually, you know, I actually missed a plane because I was queued up in line for a sandwich because I was afraid, that
Uh,
it's okay. You're my brother. You can laugh. Yeah, I know you're not laughing at me. I know you're laughing
I'm
with me.
laughing with you.
You're
Yep.
laughing with me, right? And you're laughing with me.
I'm
But,
just picturing you like standing in this
but
line and
with my paper, like now I've got this nice little bag, right? This nice little paper bag with the nice handle, like, and I get to the gate and it's like, oh my God. I mean, the plane, I mean, the plane is gone. And so, and it's so, I mean, and
so
even
did
in
you
that,
save that? Did you save your meal for your next flight?
no, probably not. No, I probably didn't. So, I mean, I had to go back and, you know, restep, recheck into a hotel and get rescheduled and, show up home, a day late because of this. And so, um, and of course you can imagine like the shame, the embarrassment, like, oh my goodness, like
Right.
what's going on here? How can this, but I, s- um, but the fear of hunger didn't like evaporate in that moment, in that moment. It's still something that um, continued on for quite a while, until I really think it was you who suggested intermittent fasting to me. Um, and I think it was that experience of playing with intermittent fasting which helped me um, get comfortable with hunger and start to experience it. And this is the teaching around fear. I'm actually watching, taking part in a little mini course right now through the Happier app where it's about anxiety and fear, and where there's this whole concept of titrating and getting comfortable in small ways with your discomfort in order to work your way
Mm.
through it and to move beyond your fears and anxieties. And in the episode, the host, Dan Harris, has a severe anxiety and panic around elevators, and so they're actually taking him through that process of getting in the elevator and seeing how he feels and sort of working and so a lot of the teaching in mindfulness is that instead of trying to avoid these fears or perceived fears, that you actually start um, being more mindful and paying more attention to the actual sensation of it, and that can be
Mm.
very freeing, because once you really experience it, you come to understand that again, the fear was sort of in your mind. It wasn't in the reality. It wasn't nearly what you thought, what you had, made it up to be. And that was that was one of the gifts that intermittent fasting gave me. Was it gave me the opportunity to kind of play with and get comfortable with the feeling of hunger. What exactly is hunger? What does it feel like? And in the body. And I think there could be a lot of us who struggle with weight, who have this have this fear, or have this aversion where they're trying to avoid hunger. They have some type of um, concern around hunger, and so they eat. They eat in excess to try to avoid that feeling. When the truth is that it's just a signal, right? It's just a feeling. It's just a sensation. It doesn't really mean anything in and of itself. It only means something with what you um, assign to it. If you say that it's bad, then it's bad. If you say that it's good, but in and of itself, a feeling of hunger it's just a feeling. It's just neutral, and so that's been very empowering for me. I don't have to eat breakfast. The world will not come to an end, and I know how hunger feels in my body. That it sort of comes and goes, like in waves, and it doesn't. It's not a big, and actually it can, like you said, I think I've gotten to the point where it can actually feel good. You can actually start to be comfortable with your hunger and know that when you do eat, it's going to taste so much better because
Hmm.
you're actually ready. Your body's ready for food. Where if you're eating ahead of hunger, then you never really get that same, I think, um, wonderful experience of just how delicious, sort of quenching your hunger can be.
That's where I've landed with the days that I do play with intermittent fasting
Yeah,
is just your everything is heightened. It just feels, or the food, the meal you're gonna have, just, or you do have, tastes so much better. I
right?
don't need, when I'm hungry, and it varies. It's but I usually don't. I've never. I hear what you're saying about the fear of hunger relating or contributing to possible overeating because you're trying to make up for something. I've personally not. That's not a concern or fear of mine for me personally. But um, when I, like, my first meal after going a period without eating, I don't. Again, my eyes are bigger than my belly. I often don't even need as much as I think I should need, because it tastes good. You're eating it in a good environment. You're sitting down. You're breathing. You're chewing. actually in the moment. You're not.
Hmm.
I have had those times when I'm hungry and maybe gone a little too long, and you do tend to eat without breathing or thinking, and that never sits well with me. But 9 times out of 10, if I'm able to be in the right environment, sitting down at the table, then um, it's a wonderful experience.
Right. And you're right. I mean, like anything, these are guidelines. They're not absolutes, you know. You don't want to go too long. You don't want to get to the point where you're ravenous. You don't want to get to the point where you're out of control and you're just scarfing down like a Big Mac while you're driving in traffic. I mean, that's not a place you want to be. What you're describing is, you know, sitting down and really being part of and paying attention to your food, which I think is
Mm,
huge in our world. I think that that's another place where, you know, we suffer from the realities of just modern life and moving really, really fast and multitasking and not really getting the same enjoyment from our food if we're eating, you know, frantically while we're doing three other things. It's not
right.
going to be as satisfying, and that can cause and lead to overeating and eating beyond the point where you would have been comfortable. And so there's a lot to sort of consider and unpack here, but I think the basic mention, the basic suggestion would be for folks who do share, you know, what I've experienced, to start to play and to start to experiment. And you can, when you start to notice your hunger, when you start to tune into it, it also helps with this whole concept of knowing real true physical hunger versus emotional hunger. Because if you don't let yourself get hungry, then it's harder to appreciate those differences and those nuances, where if you started to experience your hunger, then it's easier when people talk about, you know, head hunger versus body hunger to understand how that presents in your body.
Mm,
um and I can know that automatically now, having done the intermittent fasting and having experienced real physical hunger. I know that uh, how physical hunger feels, that it kind of comes and goes, it gradually increases. And you know that when you're really, truly physically hungry, like an apple sounds delicious, right?
hmm.
Where emotional hunger is very different experience in the body. It comes on suddenly and intensely, and rarely does an apple, you know, sound like the solution. And so for me, I can readily know, based on these experiments, whether I'm experiencing, oh, I have a taste for that. I want that, which is not, you know, true physical hunger, because now I've felt that in my body. So I think that's been helpful too.
Would you say, like, when you have more of an emotional feeling, that it's more of, oh, I want a brownie or a cookie, or it's
Yeah,
something.
it's a taste for a specific sensation. I want something cold. I want something creamy, or it could be a
Mm,
specific food. Um, you know, I'm craving pizza. You know, I really have the taste for pizza, or I have the taste
hmm.
for um, a potato chip, or I want something crunchy, or yeah. So those are usually signs of something that you're looking to use food um, to um, soothe some type of emotional issue. Yeah.
Do you still consider yourself afraid of being hungry?
No. And that's why I wanted to share this, because I, like anything, with time and openness, I really feel like we can overcome. You know, we can
An
move
experience.
beyond,
You
move beyond these
experienced it.
experiences, and come
Hmm.
out on the other side just um, more understanding, like, of ourselves and of other humans. And yeah, so no, I don't consider myself as I don't, and I consider myself a lot less of a scaredy cat than I did even a few weeks ago, thanks to my new understanding around how thinking works.
So, do you still consider yourself an introvert?
I don't I'm really sort of I'm really playing with that too. I'm really staying open, because it's like, what is that real, you know, what does that really mean? And so it's how you define it, it's how you interpret it. It's kind of like a story you tell. Some of the teaching is um, that as an introvert, feel more, you gain your energy by being alone and being in quiet, and that as an extrovert, you fill up your battery, you gain your energy through being with people. Um, and I always felt as though being out and about with people drained my battery, but I'm not sure that that's necessarily true. I think part of it was the social anxiety that I had around, meeting new people, or
Hmm.
all of that thinking that went on inside of my head that, I'm not good enough, or I'm going to embarrass myself, or I don't, all of those stories, all of that thinking. I don't know what to say, I don't know how to make conversation, all of that story. And that will, of course, drain you. So,
Hmm.
and I think I think all of life is a continuum, right? I mean, it's like we're all like sort of, there are very few absolutes. And so I don't really, I do like quiet. I do like peace. I do like stillness, because I feel as though it's from that place that I can gain like understanding. And I think there's something really peaceful about having a more quiet sort of mind. But I don't know. To be determined, because it was always
Hmm.
the story that I've told. I'm going to be 62 like soon, and so it's a story I've told myself for a long time. Uh, and so I'm not sure. I'm just not as sure as I used to be. That's for sure. I'm really enjoying this community here. I've been much more social these past few months in this community where my husband and I are, Rod and I are spending the winter in outside of Ensenada, Mexico, and it's just been much more social, and I'm really enjoying it, and I'm genuinely enjoying meeting people, and in a way that I don't even know if I knew I was capable of. So it's been fun.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
So I would
Yeah.
encourage people, if you suffer like I do. I mean, and I think like I said, I'm not alone. I don't think. Um, I'm human, and as other humans, I think probably share this fear. And if you do, I encourage you to just kind of start playing with it in ways that feel, safe. Um, to try to just and to tune in more than trying to avoid, and just see for yourself what hunger actually feels like. And it might not be as scary as you think it is.
And you might not miss your plane.
And and hopefully you won't miss your plane. Hopefully you won't miss your plane. But I think more people know and are prepared in this day and age where food is much less common on planes. People are more prepared. So hopefully you
True.
don't have to miss a plane to learn the lesson. All right. On that note, we'll give it a wrap for today. And if you enjoyed this, we'd love for you to like, share, subscribe, and please tune in soon. We'll be back in a week or so.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Take care.